Hello and welcome to a new episode of Morgana Radio, where I, your host Morgana Ray, interview the world's most fascinating thought leaders on money, love, and magic. And today we have a guest who so lives up to that promise. I am bringing to you Dame DC Cordova. We have knights and we have dames. That is a really serious title. And I have known Dame DC for 10 years now. And in my industry of money coaching, honestly, there are very few programs that I trust or respect or would ever endorse. And this program that she spearheads is the exception. And I took this class 10 years with other, not in my particular class, but I've taken her Money and You class. Other students include Tony Robbins, Harv Eker, Christopher Howard. It goes on and on. Anybody you've heard of has probably taken her class and has absolutely incorporated the lessons of Buckminster Fuller into our business models and view of the world. So, in today's class, Dame DC is going to be teaching us how to get access to cash, the new definition of wealth. Here are some of the things that you're going to take away from today. The 3 stages of money. She's going to teach you the distinctions of the different stages. You are going to learn the Accelerated Business Success Model. This is so good. This is why everybody goes to her and takes this course. And she's also going to share with you the greatest money-making industries of our near future. So let me tell you a little bit more about DC. DC is the CEO and owner of Excellerated Business Schools, which is a global organization with over 100,000 graduates from Asia Pacific and North America since 1979. Her Money and You program has inspired some of today's greatest wealth experts. I've named a few, and has touched the lives of millions globally. Her purpose is to uplift humanity's consciousness through socially responsible businesses. Oh, we need this so much. She's an ambassador of new education with a tireless pursuit to transform educational systems around the world and eradicate poverty and hunger. She is a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and a global business developer via several organizations. She's also in partnership with Huang Ming, who is one of the world's leading solar architects. He's a designer and entrepreneur at SolarValleyChina.com in expanding his global markets. And she is developing the Money and You book series. This is big, big news. So you don't have to fly down to San Diego or China to take the class, to educate everybody on these systems used by millions to reach financial success. Welcome, DC.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. And I am so excited to be with your audience. And thank you as a Money and You graduate and really doing this kind of work using technology. This is actually part of the future where we can stay in our beautiful homes. I've been in this home for 30 years, and I hope to be here for another 100 years and be able to just live a life, a very simple life, and use technology and all the things that are available to us to do the best work that we can.
Before we dive into the content, let's talk a little bit about you and who you are. Where did you grow up, and how did you become who you are today?
Well, very simply, I grew up in Chile, soy chilena, and my family brought me to the States when I was 12, had a typical Los Angeles youth. But something very sad happened to me when I was 18. The love of my life at the time, my first love, was killed in a car accident a month before we were to be married. And so that was, I can't imagine. I mean, it was just so horrendous. And I didn't know it, I was pregnant. And so on his birthday, 4 months later, I lost a baby. And what I did was I shut down my heart completely and became a total workaholic in Los Angeles. I was an assistant legal secretary, then an interpreter, English and Spanish, and then I became an official court reporter. And part of that was me wanting to feel protected by the system. And I'm going to write someday a whole book on that whole experience because it was so out of this world horrendous. And at the same time, it was the best thing that happened to me because I ended up moving to Hawaii. I had been to Hawaii and I couldn't handle the system. I couldn't handle what we were persecuting people for things in the court, and then people in the background were doing what we were persecuting people for. I didn't know the word integrity then. I had never heard of that word. Many people had never heard of that word until we all did the S training. But that's really what had kicked in. And I moved to Hawaii. And when I was 26 years old, blessed be, I had a beautiful, what could be considered enlightenment experience on the island of Kauai in Hanalei Bay. You know how beautiful that is. And my heart for the first time just opened up. And I remember physically feeling my heart chakra literally like being torn apart. I mean, I literally had cement around my heart. And so what happened was I was so successful by the time I was 26. I was making lots of money. I had a beautiful boyfriend, but I was so unhappy. And I really, truly believe that part of our spiritual path is to have experiences so that we can have compassion for others. I mean, in my Money and You program, I will see a 20-something woman looking a certain way, beautiful, successful, and tough. And I go, oh, here I come. And I just have tremendous compassion for them. And what I had was this experience of seeing my whole life and beyond. And I literally was seeing the whole universe. And then I sensed, I didn't hear, I sensed this message. I did not put you on planet Earth for you to be a party girl, which I was. It was the 70s. But you have a job to do. I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea. And I came out of this experience, which probably didn't last longer than 30 seconds or a minute, but it was timeless. And I was forever shifted. And my face changed. I changed completely. I moved from Maui to go back to Honolulu to be a court reporter in the big city. And through a series of circumstances, I ended up doing the S training, one of the top personal development programs, which later evolved into landmark education. I became a big volunteer, found Sandra Ray, our beautiful Sandra Ray, began to do all the work around my birth trauma and rebirthing. While I was manifesting and creating all of this money, what was so interesting is that I literally started going through my money process because as a court reporter and as a professional, I had no problem. I understood leverage. I understood, how to create wealth. But once I started having this process of spirituality, I became very confused. And many people do, because all of a sudden, I no longer had the hook for money and success because I was no longer suppressing my feelings. I was no longer using money and stuff to make me feel better. So I had to go through this process, which I'll share about in a little bit later. And it was from there that Sandra herself introduced me to Marshall Thurber and Bobby D. Porter, who had created the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind. I attended that first business school, fell in love with the work, moved from Hawaii to San Francisco, began to volunteer with them and asked them, please create something for me to have a job. And they surprised me a few months later. And I went to do this skeleton program that they had named Money and You. And it became my job. And then I became a partner. Eventually, in 1985, I inherited all the rights to all the accelerated programs and literally found a guy by the name of Robert Kiyosaki, who was, he had done the program. And then I made him my partner because he was a Marine and he followed directions well, and he was fabulous. His wife, they weren't married yet. He had met his wife. She was fabulous. And we were in partnership for 9 years. And it was my idea for him to write his first book, If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. And then we can just accelerate very quickly through a series of circumstances. He and I and his wife completed after 9 years because they just wanted to move into the investment side. And in Money and You would really open up people's hearts. So you can't be pitching people for investments. They'll give you anything. And it was a no. We are students of Buckminster Fuller. And you provide a service, you get paid for that service, and that's complete. You don't need to keep upselling them. If you do have other programs, you can. But what ended up happening, my whole Asia Pacific region opened up during those years. And then we began to open up the Chinese market. And we are one of the biggest thing in the Chinese world, Money and You, my business school for entrepreneurs. And then I met my partner in renewables. My partner is the #1 solar architect. He has created a city in China. Literally 7 million people use renewables to heat the water and to light the street lights. And of course, Buckminster Fuller, our #1 mentor, was the man who created literally the awareness of moving us from from scarcity to sufficiency to abundance. So all of that combined, I'm talking nearly 40 years. And now I am so involved in the awakening of people's awareness, not only spiritual, which I've been doing all these years, but now around climate change and the damage to our beautiful earth, and really our very survival, which has always been at stake, but now, we accelerated it so quickly, damaging our beautiful planet, and we are the inhabitants of it. So all of this, I've managed to monetize my life purpose, and I love speaking to spiritual and to beautiful people who are waking up, because I had magnificent masters and mentors, but we were all discovering this together. Now we have discovered, now we have the tools, now we have the formulas for them. And so thank you for having me here.
I'm thrilled because my community plays at such a high level of altruism and caring and spirituality, and to have you as an example of someone who can walk that path and also be really one of the most successful businesswomen in the world and a huge influence is just a really beautiful example for my community. So what advice would you give to somebody who is walking that spiritual path and just is coming against the money thing and isn't making it as easily as you do?
Okay. So first, I wanted to say that what Morgana meant to say, that I'm the most successful woman in our industry, female, Latina, in our transformational, experiential, entrepreneurial field. As a matter of fact, my mentors were the ones who created that industry, and I had the opportunity to carry on with it. So what I am successful at is the combination of the two. And I want to speak about the business success model. And let me just look at the URL so that later people can go to moneyandyou.com /
We'll post it at morganaradio.com.
Perfect.
So
Perfect. I don't have to worry.
For people who are listening, there's a video version of this interview, and all the links and all the information will be posted at morganaradio.com.
Thank you, because I have a hard time remembering, and will too.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm going to give is a gift. It's going to be a diagram of the business success model. And I just want you to stay with me for a few minutes, because this model is actually quite spiritual, even though it looks like it's very left brain. But this is what my strength is the combination of using systems, tools, and distinctions that others have learned in business and building organizations, but at the same time, using all your God-given spiritual gifts, because we are going for the uplifting of humanity's consciousness, which is a vibrational field. And so we have tremendous effect on all those around us. I mean, right now, my intention is completely going out to every listener, every person that's going to watch this, so that you really get it at a whole other level, because that's what happened for me. So it's very simple. First, you learn from masters. And Morgana, thank you. You're bringing different masters to your audience. That's what you're doing. And she's giving you the greatest gift that another human being can give another human being, aside from a child, really is the ability for us to give you tools that will get you to connect to yourself and to become a more empowered human being. That is the greatest gift. That's why she and I love this work. So you learn from masters, and you don't be fooled that people are masters in every area of their lives. You're only looking for masters. I'm only a master in certain areas. If you look at other areas of my life, I may not be as masterful because I'm a human being. So don't go into this whole thing in your head that somebody has to be perfect. No one is perfect. So if you're going to look for imperfections, you're going to find them. Masters can teach you, though, that one area and teach you their mistakes. The next thing you want to do is find a niche. And a niche is something that you want, because that will help you with your marketing. I'm going to move into business here really quickly. There's 4 areas: sales and marketing, people and organization, money and finances, and your area of expertise, your niche. Remember that. That's in my book that's coming up, Access to Cash. I have little list of all these things. And so you can look at that in there a little bit later.
Could you quickly define, what do you mean by niche, for if somebody doesn't know? What is a niche?
A niche is having that spot in the marketplace that other people are not filling, or you are filling a spot that other people may be doing already, but you added a whole bunch of new things to it so that it makes you different. So Apple computers first came out with a PC that everybody could use. Then, of course, even Microsoft copied it. But they had other things to it. They made it cheaper than Apple and all that. And the same thing, you can see it with phones. You can see it with smartphones, that Apple has a very expensive iPhone, but then you see all these other companies that have much lower price with a lot better, I mean, some of those much better cameras than my iPhone. And then now iPhone is catching up with them. They created a niche. Other people added to it. You don't just copy it, you add to it. So that's a niche. Then you leverage that niche. And this is a word that is very important for you to know, that is extremely misunderstood. Leverage is the ability to use resources, networks, knowledge, experience, money, investments in order to accelerate, or in the name of my company, accelerate your goals, what it is that you're doing. So you now have the ability to be able to leverage your time and your energy. Now, I'm going to say something here that's going to sound rude, but I want you to just take it. I'm your mentor right now, and my mentors are really tough. Every once in a while, nothing personal. I don't mean to offend you, but this is what you need to know. If right now you can't leave your business or your work, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're not in a profit-sharing situation with your business and you're an employee for someone else, and you haven't set it up like that yet, because it is your responsibility to do that. If you can't fly business class or first class if you want to, if you can't go to the best hotel in whatever your destination is, if you can't take a limousine because you just feel like it, if you can't just go into a store and say, oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, you may not, and you don't understand leverage. I want you to take that in. You think you know leverage. Leverage is like the word love. It's like the word systems. These are the 3 most misunderstood words around the world: leverage, systems, and love. And so what happens is that people think they know it, but they don't. And the only thing that will tell you whether you understand it and know it is by the results that you have in your life. And this is a tough one to get. So when we go to that humble place, look, I'm in my 60s now, and I get humbled all the time. That one, for me to get on my knees or to pray like a beautiful Muslim and bow to the Great Spirit, is something that I make myself do because we all have an amazing ego that morphs itself. I mean, I laugh at my ego. I mean, I entertain myself with some of the visions of grandiosity that it creates that are not real. And thank God I don't believe it. You need to not believe those either. So when you understand leverage, you will have that, but it may take you a while. It takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. So you have to do it through systems. That will take you to the next few steps of the business success model, which is, of course, to create this through an aligned team. An aligned team is clear on their purpose together, the mission, which Morgana already shared with you, mine, and then having clear rules of the game, which we really go through this space in the Money and You program. This is what makes us really different. We really go through the mission, the purpose, the rules of the game, and how to create teams that are aligned. But then there's other kind of teams. Morgana and I are in a team. I support her, she supports me. She has her own business, I have my own business. But the combination of the two creates the next step, which is synergy. So right now, she and I are creating synergy, which is that the two of us, her background, my background, her energy, my energy, will create a much greater energy that could be actually predicted. And then from synergy, we go to results. And as my good teacher and friend, Marsha Martin, taught me in my 20s, in life, you either have reasons for why you didn't create what you wanted to create, or you have the results that will speak for themselves. And that's what you're looking at when you're looking at a mentor, when you're looking at how you want to work with people and learn from them. You must look at their results, not just what they're talking about, but what did they really create in life? And do they resonate with your own spirit?
And I would say not just the results they created in their own lives, but I think even more important is what are the results they created for their students or catalyzed for their students. And that's why I'm sharing you with my audience, because you have a track record beyond, I think, anybody in our industry of really successful leaders who studied under you to get to where they are.
Yes, they studied the Money and You program, and I was the one responsible for making sure that Money and You exists on the planet. So, we had somebody in San Diego called Terry Cole Whitaker a long time ago. Do you remember her, Morgana?
Yes, I'm old enough to remember her from the 80s, yeah.
Well, Terry Cole Whitaker had a wonderful saying, take credit for any miracles that happen within 50 miles of you. So when you go to my websites that you will give them link to, you will see, obviously Robert Kiyosaki was my business partner for 9 years. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a work that was created by Sharon Lechter. And Sharon is going to be one of my bonus materials when you download my book. And when Sharon Lechter was the power behind that, like the combination of their partnership was so powerful. Now she's written a book called Think and Grow Rich for Women, which I'm part of that. And I'm so, oh my God, to be part of a book of Napoleon Hill's. I mean, it was the greatest acknowledgement. So one of the things that you need to understand is that there are people who came into this world to show you the way. They're like a little bit like Jesus, a way shower, because he was showing you the big way. Some of us are showing you the little ways, okay? So I don't even want to pretend to sound like I do the work that he does. But what I do the work that he does, which is to bring the light. So we bring in the light by giving people knowledge and people distinctions. So look at your gifts. Look at the gifts that you have And here, I'm going to take you into the money piece. Would that be okay, Morgana?
Yeah, as soon as you said distinctions, what are the three distinctions, the three stages of money?
We're on the same page. So the three distinctions of money are you in the process of making money, of keeping the money that you managed to make, or growing the money that you managed to keep? So people get very confused because everyone is at one point or another in the process of making it, whether you're young, whether you had to start again, whether you're starting in a new career, or whether you had a big learning experience. So take a look at where you are, and that requires a certain kind of education. In the book, Access to Cash, that book is created for all three steps, and you will see why. It's a little tiny book and very inexpensive, and we're going to have different offers at different times where you can download it for free. But one of the things you need to know is that in order for you to keep the money, now it's getting more sophisticated. Now you need to start learning the world of money. But now this is where I do my best not to offend the financial institutions of our world. First thing you need to do is get out of debt. Unless you have a very good reason, and you can use good debt. That's a whole other science that I'm not an expert in, but I have friends who are, and once you start following me, I will be introducing you to different masters. But then what you want to do is you want to not just automatically go into and just start buying mutual funds or going to the stock market without being an expert, plus not realizing what that product is going to buy. That money is what product you're going to be buying. Is it alcohol? I remember I couldn't buy any mutual funds. They all had alcohol. They all had cigarettes. They all had coal and oil and things that I didn't believe in. So that's why I have never invested in that. So you have to be responsible because we have a karmic footprint. Just like we have a carbon footprint, we have a karmic footprint. So you begin to really clean this up. And then what's going to happen, you're going to have enough now that you kept this money, and now you're going to be able to grow it. And in Access to Cash, you will see the three different, all these different little formulas that I have learned through the years from masters of money that will give you an opportunity for you to learn what to do with your money. So I'm not teaching investments, I'm teaching habits. And that's the big difference of what you really need to know. What kind of habits do you have? And that will support you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to have a link to the book download, which I think is only available for 2 days.
Yes.
And so for people...
For
free. For free.
After that, if they miss it, it's 99 cents. And after that, it's still inexpensive, $9.99.
Yeah. So because this is going to be on iTunes forever, July 8, 2016, for 2 days, you'll be able to get it for free. After that, it's invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. How did you become a dame? This is off topic, but I just had to know, how did you become a dame?
I was actually nominated around 6 years ago by a friend of mine. I mean, it was so off. I mean, I looked at this email and just went, this is so interesting. I don't ever remember having put anywhere that I wanted to be knighted. It wasn't in my consciousness. What was so interesting was that you had to write the list of all the good things that you have done, humanitarian things. And I didn't think of myself as a great humanitarian or philanthropist. And then I began to list, and it started when I was very, very young. I tried to adopt a homeless little boy in Chile because I wanted a brother. That was a very traumatic experience for my family. And my mother and I still having conversations why I didn't get to keep him. I still don't know why I didn't get to keep my brother. And so what occurs then is like I was, of course, accepted. And then I went to New York, and you get knighted. My order is the Order of St. John, the Russian Priory. And it is nearly 300 years old, and it can be traced back. And it was like completely out of a movie with a Russian prince and all of these beautiful royalty and being very solemn. I mean, I was like, oh my God, this is the real thing. And then they literally do the sword, just like you see in the movie. Sometimes they just do it on the shoulder, but sometimes they do it up on, on your crown chakra. And I got to do that. And this sword came on my crown chakra, and then it went up, and it was like, whew. And it was like, I went, okay, this is something real. And this was on November 14 on my birthday. And I did more unconsciously from November 14 to the end of that year than I had done the whole year. And all of a sudden, I kind of literally became a dame. And they keep correcting me. I'm actually a dame, not a knight. A knight is the man, women are dames. And that's for people, those are religious institutions. Then you can also be knighted by the Queen of England. But if you're not English, if you're English and knighted by the Queen of England or the king or whoever, then you become a lady or a sir. But if you're not a citizen of England, then you become a dame. And then I went into the order. This is a really quick, funny story. I began to organize everything. I found that they weren't doing certain things, and I just began to help because the beautiful countess, who is the head of the order, is over 90 years old, and she's the most adorable Russian you ever met. So I started helping her, and then within 2 years, I was made Dame Commander, and I was laughing because I said, this is the first time that I get acknowledged for being bossy and taking over, and I became
so that's what the DC stands for.
No. DC stands for Doris Carmen.
Okay.
So I'm a double DC.
Yeah.
But it's an honor, and it's a spirit, and it's really interesting because I know a lot of people that do humanitarian work, but they're not knights or dames. It's a spirit. It's like when you would do it anyway, and the fact that you create whatever out of whatever the ripple effects of that is, but it's like it's a beautiful heart. That's what, and you don't have to be knighted by an organization for you to know that you are a knight or a dame. You are one when you are of service.
Beautiful. Before we wrap up, I think there was one last topic that we were going to discuss, which is what are the industries that are coming in that we should be investing in, participating in the near future?
No question, renewables is at top of the list. Renewables, that is a whole new industry, and there is an illusion out there that it already exists, and that is very big. No. We have in America less than 10% of people use renewable in this country. 38 states is against the law for you to gather water. 38%. 38 states don't allow you to gather your own water. There is a whole industry at every level, in education, in technology, in how the world's going to work. And so you see Solar City, you see all this, you see it all around, and you see people that are getting their solar panel. That is only the tip of the iceberg. The whole world needs to go completely renewables, not only with solar, but there's 5 different technologies in there. And so if they go to, one of the sites that you already mentioned, solarvalleychina.com, it's really important for you to start getting educated. And there are trillions of dollars in that industry. It is like you finding out about the gold rush in 1845 that gave you enough time for you to come across to San Francisco and to California and be able to start digging. And then in 1850, it hit. It hasn't hit yet. The wave is just being created. And I would highly recommend that you get educated, including if you have your wealth in your home by the water. This is a really good time to do something with that wealth, because things are changing, including rules with Fannie Mae. Within 6 months, they're going to be changing the categories. And sadly, a lot of property on any kind of near the water, any kind of water, is going to be shifting. And many homeowners are going to be taken by surprise. And that, to me, is part of the social justice that I like to share about. I'm a Pied Piper from many years. So just wake up and get educated. This is not a myth. This is really important for you to know. And you can create a fortune from it, which you totally deserve. If you are spiritual and watching this, you deserve, your level of deservability needs to come up because your work is wanted and needed. Your services are wanted and needed.
Thank you so much. So this has been really tremendous, eye-opening, fantastic information that we're not getting anywhere else. So I really want to thank you, DC, and the link to get to learn more about DC, to download or buy the ebook depending on when you're listening, to watch our video, to replay this. It's all posted at morganaradio.com. And thank you.
Thank you. Aloha.